All right, guys. Double J here. Josh and Joanna. It's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. It's been too long. It feels like forever.
I know, man. That was the end of, November of last year. I think you were hanging out with us. Yeah.
I remember it snowed.
Did it?
Right? Yes, it was. It was very cold when you came to
Columbus. Man, I was actually running late to get you because of that. Because it was like the first snow of the year and people freaked out. And I was like, Mike, I'm going to be 10 minutes late. And I was like, nope, I'm going to be 20 minutes late. And nope, 30. And
I actually think it was earlier than November. Because November, would have felt like snow was right. But I remember when it snowed, we were like, why is it snowing so early? So I don't remember. Yeah. Maybe it was September or something like that. But anyways, it's good to see you guys. Now we're here on the other side of the weather. I told everybody in the intro, just kind of how we connected and how we spent time together that one weekend. So that was really cool. But now the seats are flipped here and I get to interview you guys. So this is really cool. I saw firsthand what you do with Studio 88 and the agency, and it's awesome. And I just thought that for a lot of folks tuning in, it would be really interesting to see how you guys have really built and I say this in air quotes, like a real business. Because, sometimes I feel like those of us who are in this personal brand space, like I am, don't really have a quote unquote real business. Like I don't have an office. I don't have employees. I can't sell my business. You guys can. So can you share a little bit about how you built Studio 88 around your personal brand? I don't know if this is more a Josh question or a Joanna question, but can you guys talk a little bit about that?
No, that's a great point because it's funny, there's times where I'm like, is this a real business? Because I think it just starts off such a hobby and an idea, and a couple of friends and I doing hustle work on the side for some extra income, and then it kind of grows and adding some other people. But when you stop and look back, all of a sudden there's one day where you're like, oh, no, this is legit now, Mm-hmm. So it's been a fun ride. I think, I've been in dentistry for about 18 years, which is kind of crazy to say that. But started Studio 88 about 7 years ago. And really when we had that opportunity to do that, there was kind of two options, right? We either do greatdentalmarketing.com, and just be part of all that noise out there and come up with just some name, like that. But I just felt like there was so much noise, and how do you even really connect with a company? And so when we started it, I had 12 years in the industry and just lots of networks and trust and experience. And so we thought, you know what, let's leverage my personal brand first and connect with people around marketing and building trust and creating confident strategy. And then we could be like, oh yeah, and by the way, we can provide those solutions too. So it was a really interesting play. We actually built joshuascott.com before we built studio88.com.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Here's what's funny, man. We're kind of like this website company, this website digital marketing company, didn't have a website for 3 years. And we actually kind of laughed about it. We actually hated the point where it was like, okay, fine. Let's get a website. Yeah. Because we just thought it was kind of fun. But ran, ads around me, ran ads around just kind of connecting with somebody, hey, build trust with an advisor. And then let's talk about working together from there. So.
Yeah. So you were in this industry and then you stayed in marketing in the industry. Was there ever a time when you guys felt like you wanted to get out of the dentistry niche and go do something more broad? Or did you just figure here's where all my contacts are, here's where my network is? What was that like? Because a lot of people have trouble niching down and staying niched.
Yeah, man. You know what? When we finally got into this and created, I'd call it get through that survival phase and into a stability kind of place. I think businesses have these phases, and phase one is let's just survive. Let's get an income, let's survive. Once we got through that and we had some stability now, that question came up. Absolutely. And I think for me, it's because I kind of fell into dentistry by accident. Like I was never sitting there in high school, like, man, I want to be in the dental profession. And I don't know that most people are, unless you want to be a dentist or, clinically a hygienist. But I kind of fell into it by accident. So yeah, I have this moment where it's like, okay, things are stable. We could probably do whatever we want. What do we want to do? And it was a real like coming to grips with, and I think for me, here's what happened. It became less about dentistry and more about, I want to build a team of creatives. Like that's what gives me energy. That's what like drives me. And so it was kind of almost like we could do whatever. Like right now we just happen to be running dentistry through this, but really what I want to do is build. I love creatives. I think that I'm decent with leading them. I love millennials. I love creating safe places for those creatives to just like, come out of their shell, like be themselves and do great work. So that became the driving factor. The other thing too is, Mike, I mean, there's 150,000 dentists in this country. If we work with 1%, that's 1,500 dentists. That is a massive, massive company. Like,
right.
So there's just, I mean, when people go like, well, let's get broad, I'm like, well, there's a huge opportunity here. And at the end of the day, like we honestly can't even invest enough resources and time into saturating that market. So why move?
Right. So as you guys have kind of grown with Studio 88, Joanna, where did you come in? Like, when did you come into that journey and that picture? And in what way did you kind of move into that role?
Well, a few years ago, I was kind of in the middle of a professional transition. And I know we had dinner with you last year and I kind of talked about that, but It was really interesting. I felt like I was at a crossroads and I knew I had an opportunity and a decision to make. I could either go off and start my own thing and run that, or I could join forces with Josh and work with him. And it was kind of the mindset behind it was really, could we have a stronger relationship in marriage if we partner together? Could our family be stronger if we're running in the same direction than if we're running in separate directions? So, I mean, I kind of thought it was worth a shot. And so a few years ago, I joined the team. Well, I guess technically, I don't know, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's all a blur. I don't know. I mean, being his wife, you're in it from the beginning. So, but I officially, it was around 2018, came on as the business development director. And, the most interesting part for me has been just, I don't know, on this whole journey of discovery, realizing that my key unique transfers, it transferred from like my past in like nonprofit church world industry, which is kind of my background, into this industry, into working with a company that cares about people. And so I get to really like build relationships with companies and people who share the same values and mindset that we do, and figure out how we can work together and collaborate together. And I mean, it's a lot of fun. I'm having like a time of my life for sure.
I think it's funny because I feel like, oh man, it could go one of two ways, right? It could go really well or like really, really bad. Then that's not unique to you guys. I mean, that's what you hear about family businesses, in general. Like whether it's a cool agency like you have, or like, decades ago when there was a restaurant in the family business, right? There are certain things that go well, and then there are other dynamics that you will never find anywhere else except for in that kind of environment. Was it like something that you had to clearly define when you came into the company? You're like, you're going to do this, this, and that, or were you guys just like, we'll figure it out as we go?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that first and I'll let you take it. But I think we worked together early on in our career, like first 5 years out of school, we kind of worked together, and I always loved that. And I think as we kind of part of this journey as we went on was realizing that we have a value together in our marriage of actually working together, and we're better at that. And so she had been kind of in this career path and was loving it, and that began to change. And so I think from my standpoint, I would always wanted her to be on the team and just saw her tremendous value. I was like, I'm not sure we can afford you, to be honest. So, because honestly, like at our size, I mean, we've got like a full-time business development director. We've got a full-time marketing director. And at our size, like there's not a lot of companies that have that. And so we've kind of, because of the talent in those individuals, and we've kind of almost made a space for them, like, okay, yes, do this, knowing like it's an investment and those roles should actually like cover themselves and actually create even more revenue and more income and be an investment. So kind of brought her on and said, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you see? And so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just been fun, like working with and developing influencer relationships and working with personal brand clients and helping them define their story and capture, discover it, capture it, share it, tell it to the world. I mean, and working, on all of our virtual conferences and on-site conferences, and it's just basically like, give me the idea, or I'll come up with the idea and I'll just build it from the ground up. And then once I'm done with it and all the systems are there, I'll pass it on to somebody else on a team to, manage and handle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like I've been chewing on this for a little while and haven't really fleshed out my thoughts on this yet, but I heard somebody say there's basically two types of entrepreneurs. There's either a simplifier or there's a multiplier. And I really liked that because I was like, oh yeah, I'm clearly a simplifier. Like I want to do less all the time, but I want to do less really well. But without a multiplier in my life, like that's not going to work, And I just think, there's a lot of discussion like entrepreneurs and like team members, rocket fuel, right? I think we had talked about, right, where there's a visionary and there's an implementer or something like that. But yeah, even within that, like it's just like some people are visionaries who happen to be simplifiers. Other people are visionaries who are multipliers. And I was like, why do we have to do more? Let's just do this really well. And it's just, I think it's just something like we, kind of flesh out and figure out as we go. You guys mentioned like building personal brands in dentistry. And I think this is kind of a novel, like, it's a new thought, or like it's kind of eye-opening to a lot of people, because in these really like high-end professional services industries like dentistry, chiropractic, you're seeing that trend happen. What have you guys seen there? Like, is this something recent where you have dentists who want to kind of be more thought leaders or influencers? Like, what have you guys seen happen in that space?
Yeah, what's happened is, so dentistry for the most part, this is kind of pre-COVID, was kind of a 4-day work week, Monday through Thursday. Most are off Friday, have an extended weekend. So what's happened is there's almost like this cognitive surplus or excess or, space there. And so a lot of them like getting involved in other things. So they begin to lecture, they begin to consult, multiple practice ownership is a huge deal right now. The dental world is just expanding, consolidating and expanding all at the same time. And so you've got guys that own 5, 6, 10 practices that now like people are like, well, how did you do that? So they've got a course for that. And so you have all these kind of like side hustles happening in dentistry. What's happened is like we typically 85% of our clients are dental practices that want to market. But then as we've gained trust with those owners, they're like, hey, I've got this course. I want to, set up a website. I want to like get that out there. I want to do more speaking. And so we've gotten into this personal brand space, because we kind of knew it. We kind of built a company from that. So it was natural. And we're like, oh, we could actually take what we did and teach that. But then just knowing like, I think dentistry is interesting. It's a little bit behind, and I think most dentists would say this and kind of laugh and go like, yeah, we're like 5 to 10 years behind. So personal brands are nothing new at all. But we're also seeing this first wave really come through social media right now in dentistry, where the guys that were lecturing 10, 15 years ago didn't build a personal brand, and they're just kind of non-existent in social. And now so because of that absence and that void, now we have all these guys that have come up, and maybe they're the best clinicians, maybe they're not, but they've got the biggest social media presence and they're influencing the profession for sure. And that's a lot of where you've stepped in the last couple of years, is helping develop that.
It's been really interesting, like on the sidelines, watching how personal brands work in dentistry and with dentists. Dentists are overachievers. They aspire to do more than just practice and be tied to the chair. And I think he mentioned that, but it's so true. And I think that it's now catching this whole spirit of, oh, I can be an educator. Oh, I can do more than, fix teeth or brighten smiles or, create awesome smiles. I can take this to, I can create a brand around this. I have a voice. I have a passion. There's more to me. And so I think that helping dentists discover and clarify what that voice is and what else they're meant to do in the world it's been an incredible journey, really, to go on with each of them.
So it's more like their audience in their personal brand is really more other dentists, right? It's not like they're training the customer how to clean your teeth, keep floss well. They're not doing YouTube videos on how to floss better. Or, I mean, maybe some of them are.
Some are, but yeah.
I would see that more probably in chiropractic, where people are like, they're always trying to fix themselves. So they're pivoting from a B2C where they're working with people who are obviously coming in for dental needs, and they're really creating these courses for other dentists. That's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah, courses, consulting, speaking. Yeah,
and they'll do team workshops, where they'll come in and consult with practices and their teams. So you'll see a lot of that as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So they'll do that, but still keep their practices running if they can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Because they kind of get that stable income there, and then they want to do other stuff. But like it's dentists, they go to school to be clinicians, and that's what they get taught. And most of them would tell you, they're like, I'm not a great business owner. And so if you can actually run a successful business in dentistry, then you get attention. And people are like, how did you do that? So I think that's even a lot of where this is coming from too.
Where do you guys see kind of, Josh, you had mentioned like pre-COVID, post-COVID, because no one knows what's going to be out there. But what do you see happening in that space, particularly with like personal brands? Are these guys going to start shutting down offices because people aren't going to be able to go out? Are those clients of yours that have maybe built personal brands and consulting and have these courses, like, are they going to be okay because they built that second revenue stream, or do you feel like it won't be as relevant because there's going to be so much change in the industry?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I think right now, initially, I feel like those that have developed a bit of a personal brand and have invested, especially in the social space, are probably doing better because they've been communicating through this whole time, and they've been visible, and they've been out there in some ways leading. That was kind of our advice week one when this stuff happened. Was I started watching all of our practices and everybody on social go like, hey, we're closed. And immediately I was like, you're not closed. Like, we're open for emergencies. Like, I know hygiene and elective has to be suspended, but the minute you start communicating we're closed and you go radio silent is the second you're going to struggle through this. So I think same thing with personal brands is the guys that have communicated and really stepped up. And I think this has given people a lot of time to invest in that. Like, always wanted to do that. Now where it's getting hit hard is the people that were in the conference space, like, for sure. And the speakers, the lecturers, people canceling conferences and just taking hits on it. So I think that's going to remain to be seen. But what we've proven through this, though, is that CE, like continuing education, can absolutely take place virtually. And so I think we're going to see more of that. And you're going to see more of these guys pivoting into that space, maybe even hybrid. Like, we have some conferences in person, but we also have this virtual offering, as we go. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think pivoting to everything virtual right now is really important, but also hanging on to the hope that we can still have in-person experiences. I know, Mike, you've talked about that on some, like at least one of your past podcasts. And I agree with that so much. There's something about the kind of in the room, like, butts in seats experience that you just can't get virtually.
Right.
And so I hope that doesn't completely go away. I hope that there's still space where we can safely do that.
Yeah, no, you're just fighting human nature at that point. Like people would rather die than be holed up in their apartment or their house all the time, no matter how nice the view is. This is kind of like a left turn because I know that this wasn't like totally on topic, but I wanted to like share a little bit about and like kind of get into how you guys prep people when they come in to work with you. Now, I know most of the folks you work with are dentists, but for those of you listening, I was lucky enough to have Josh and Joanna and their entire team like just deck me out for like half a day or for a day. Just arrange photo shoots, wardrobe, hair, makeup, pull micro content from me, all these questions. There was so much that happened on that one day. And that I think is just so important. And hopefully when the world sort of opens back up again, this is maybe something that people could arrange and hire you guys for, or the team, if that's still on the table. But I really felt like going through all that, it was just an incredible, like A to Z. I didn't have to worry about anything. I just had to show up. Can you guys go into that a little bit and the thought process? Because I feel like I got to experience what probably your top clients experience. So can you go into that a little bit? Like
Yeah. Take it away.
Well, one, it was so fun to have you with us. Like we were all geeking out. It was amazing. It was an honor to have B. Mike Kim with us. I'm sorry it was so snowy in chilly Columbus, Ohio. I think really the mindset behind what we do with each client is to really create this personalized experience for them that's unique to them. Knowing the client, if I can back up, the whole journey with the client really begins with discovering who they are and, discovering their why, their story. And we do this through different, resources and tools, and we just guide them through this whole process. And that really sets us up to capture the story and create that custom content. And you got to experience, an on-site, custom photography and video session with our team. And, we work hard beforehand to really tailor all of the questions and everything that goes into, like you said, okay, what is the best color palette for Mike? What are his brand colors? What is going to complement his existing website? And then also down to our videographers and our content team. We come together and we craft these questions that will set you up to, give us the best answers in the entire world.
Well, I remember some of those questions. They were like, "Hey, what do you like? Like you asked me about hobbies. You found out that I liked Batman, and you're like, or something like that. And you're like, you should bring some Batman t-shirts or something, or like some comic book t-shirts or something. You played basketball in high school. Yeah, you should bring a ball, or we can go get one." And it really helped me think outside of the box. And I think that's the power of these kinds of sessions, because they help the client see themselves in a very different way. And that's what happened, like with that. So, do you guys like choose? Do you try to like engineer like, oh, we're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different locations? What's the rationale behind all that?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, we definitely do. When we're looking at the type of content we want to capture, we want to make sure variety is important, and so thinking through and finding out like the client's hobbies and, history and what are those things that make you who you are apart from your business, and how can we highlight some of those awesome qualities and, the stuff that makes you and fun and all of that. And so I would say per client, we definitely choose between probably usually three different locations to really just,
Yeah, it's interesting. We had a client a couple years ago come to us, and he was a dentist, and so we're building his practice website, and he's here in Columbus and has a really great practice. So he was in the Ohio State marching band, and he was a sousaphone player. And so as soon as I found that out, and I was like, wait, did you? And this is like for Ohio State band members, this is like the iconic thing ever, even for like football. And I was like, did you dot the I? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, seriously? So like, I don't know if you've ever seen an OSU football game, but they do the Ohio script on the field.
Here, that's a big thing.
Yeah. And a senior sousaphone player, which is really like it's like a big tuba,
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like this big tuba. So he's got this big massive thing on. Well, he's the last one in the script, and the guy leading the script out on the field takes him out. They run out. The sousaphone player dots the I and like bows and does this thing, and it's like this big iconic moment. So I was like, that needs to be on your website, like on your dental practice website. And he's like, really? He's like, I just didn't think it was relevant. And I'm like, do you have video of that? So he gives us his DVD. We like go get it ripped, to like digital and put it on there because, and it's not on the front page of his website, but on the about, him page, it's there. And people connect with that. Like they love saying my dentist dotted the I at Ohio State.
Right.
And so it's like everybody knows what you do, right? Like everybody knows you're doing, you're doing a root canal, or you're doing fillings, you're doing all this stuff. They know that. They want to know who you are. And for us, one of the interesting things we started during this COVID kind of quarantine was we started a weekly live podcast called the Not So Late Show. And it's just us talking about life, like business, kids, family, free time, like what we're hating right now about life, what we're loving right now. And it's just that. It's people want to know who you are. They want to connect with you. Just makes you more human for sure.
Yeah, I love what Joanna, you said, like who you are outside of your work. Like, and those are like the last things that we, Josh, to your point, this guy did not think, they'll say it's not relevant. And relevant isn't what we're looking for.
Right.
It's connection that we're looking for. And that's I don't know what a sousaphone is, and I've never seen the Ohio State script, but I do know it's like the national religion, the state religion in Ohio, the Ohio State, right? And I can totally see why that would be fun. Like I would remember that dentist of all, like and actually it communicates something much deeper. Like, oh, this guy was good, like in other areas in life. Like he's a person of excellence. I don't think that, they'll just give that privilege to anybody. Yeah. So,
completely.
You would think he's good.
It's that one thing that makes you human. It makes your website, stick out. Like, what is that thing other than the fact that you are a business owner or a dentist and you're all in a suit on your site? I mean, that's truly not what people want to see. So many people go to the about page or your why page because they really want to read about who you are apart from the role that you play, as a business owner or clinician or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's so good. So true. I just love what you guys are doing. I love that you're always trying new things. And it's also very cool to see like at least one couple like really, really work together that I know that isn't ready to kill each other. And I think that I'm not saying that there aren't moments, but for the most part, like I think that that is really, really cool. And it's a great example of like what can be possible. I've thought a lot about that, like would I want to work with somebody that I'm with, and I could see just how it would be so fun actually, because you guys both work a lot and you love work, and so why not do it with somebody? So. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This was really, really insightful. Where can people go to find out more about you?
Yeah, connect with me. Best place online is at Instagram at Joshua Scott. You can also check out Studio 88 at s8e8.com. So it's the letter S, the number 8, the letter E, the number 8.com.
You can find me on Instagram as well, Joanna F as in Faith Scott, Joanna F Scott.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
All right. Instagram's where it's at. Great. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. My pleasure.
Mike, so much. Appreciate you.
Hey, it's Mike Kim here. Thanks so much for checking out my YouTube channel where we talk all about building a personal brand business. That means you as a coach, a speaker, a content creator, how to market your content, how to create great content that people love. Make sure you hit that little notification bell, subscribe to the channel so that you never miss a video. So glad you're here.